Evercore's David Palmer joins us this morning with his take. He's got a buy target at 340. We spoke a few days ago, David. It's good to have you. I guess to what degree has E. coli interrupted what was apparently a nice traffic trend as value had come in line this summer?
Yeah, it's obviously a shame on many levels, obviously the consumer, but also the operators and the company. They had done a great job of building up the traffic numbers through what was a really bad start to the third quarter. July was really rough, big month for the quarter, and they were down and down even more significantly in traffic. But with the 4 for $5, they were getting some trade down on check, but they were starting to build that traffic up. Then they dropped the chicken Big Mac and they reinflated that check, and things were off to the races in the fourth quarter. They talked about it in the earnings call, how they were up mid-single digit comps against a very soft industry backdrop that was very impressive in October. Then this food safety issue hit. So what a shame that they were seemingly getting it going, and then this hits. Overseas, things are definitely rough as well, and the company is in mid-pivot there, adding some more value to some of their key markets like the ones in Europe and Germany and the UK. So that's a different story where they're clearly dealing with soft international trends as well.
That was a big miss, David. Global comp sales coming in down 1.5%. The expectation on the street was down 0.6%. We also heard the same sort of international week story from Domino's Pizza not too long ago when they reported. So how sticky, how much of a problem do you think this is going forward in terms of the number of quarters they're going to have to deal with this, particularly when we're looking at China potentially doing a massive stimulus for their economy?
Yeah, well, China is not as big of a deal for McDonald's. Thankfully for them, it's only a few percent of their profits. It's a licensed market, but they did call that out as one of the more negative markets. So while the market seems to be getting more bullish about China, it's not the here and now, and we're seeing that again and again. In terms of Europe, McDonald's has a very strong leadership position. It should be able to adjust some of its menus overseas, and they did that. They launched some $3 combo meal items, and of course they, in Germany they have one called the McSmart. They've broadened that in the quarter, so they're in sort of mid-adjustment. But clearly there was another level of weakness in many of their key markets, and we are hearing this from some of their peers as well.
So, David, is the food safety episode a bit of an intermission in this longer traffic trend, or do we have time to look to other favorites, whether that's a Shake Shack or some of the other newer names in the space?
Well, I mean, the ones that do have the momentum right now tend to be the ones in the fast casual space, like Chipotle. They're due to have a very good quarter, and they're off to a really good start here in the fourth quarter. But the problem in some of these names is valuation. The ones that have the best valuation setup often have some near-term results that are a struggle. You can see, for example, a Starbucks would be a turnaround of restaurant brands, or a Darden. These are the type of names that are dealing with more struggles in the near term. But the names like Texas Roadhouse and Chipotle that have good momentum, they still have some good upside, but it's not great upside. So, if you're going to be really looking for significant upside, you're going to have to be patient into 25 with some of the names I mentioned. McDonald's is one that's taking an intermission. Obviously, the food safety thing, the consumer has to get over that. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys moved some of their chicken innovation up forward, because that's something that doesn't remind people of the onions that seems to be the root cause of some of the food safety issues. Right. But with chicken innovation, I think these guys can help the consumer turn the page and get the comps going again in the U.S.